Hi, Mollog.
What's all this then?
Oh, this? It's going to be the backdrop for the YouTube videos.
What do you need that for?
Well, it's got Goblin Guard on it, the name of the channel, so that'll be a visual reminder. And also hides my desk, so no one has to look at it, because it's a mess.
Why is it just goblins and not also trolls?
Well, with goblins, trolls kind of just get lumped in.
Lumped in? What do you mean lumped in? I'll lump you in then now.
Right, back in the box.
No, I was only joking.
Right, now that that's taken care of, this is nearly done. A few more sprays of colour and... I should write a theme song. Hello fellow hobby goblins, my name's Gary and this is my first video on Goblin Guard, the YouTube channel. I'm going to show you 10 different ways to paint Squigs. So let's go!
So we've primed our 10 Squigs in black, and now I'm going to do a white spray from above on at least 5 of them. There's some more there. But yeah, this is what they look like when you've done that. That's called a zenithal, if you haven't heard that before, but it basically just leaves the dark in underneath there in the shadows and gives you a nice bright thing to work off of on top. My preferred way of painting, priming. And yeah, we're going to use the dreaded airbrush. We'll use some thinner and this paint, but when we're using paint, you know what we need to do?
Shake the paint!
Exactly, so now that we've done that, we can put some of that red in the airbrush and mix that up, and that's good to go. So with one, we're just going to spray the entire thing with that red, and then we're going to do another couple here, and I'm going to use 2 colours, a couple more paints, normal airbrush paint and contrast paint, but new paint. So that means...
Shake the paint!
Cool, so now that we've done that, I'm going to spray the red on the bottom of the zenithal one. Just get good coverage. The red works really well from underneath because then the zenithal actually gets to show on the shadows. And for this one, I'm going to leave the top white, not get too much of that on there, but not leave it completely. And then what we're going to do is go in with this yellow and spray from the top on that, so it gives us a nice gradient to work from, a nice like two-tone. And I'm using an airbrush for this, but like you really don't have to. I'm just really lazy and I love an airbrush for that. So this is the non-zenithal one. I'm going to use the airbrush paint on this, the army painter one. Honestly, I think I thinned this down a bit too much, and it's just not the best coverage, especially you'll see in a second with the yellow one. It's just not the best coverage. I thinned it down too much, so it's not the best comparison. I did go over that with another layer after it dried, and it looks a bit better, but you can see there it's just a bit watery looking, which is not what you want, so I fixed that. And there we go. A little bit extra, and the red underneath works really well with the black, and the yellow on top gives us that nice transition. While I had the contrast paint out, I decided to just do one of the zenithal ones entirely in red. So we have another thing to work with at the end. We've got another model here, and I've got new contrast paints out, and I'm just going to go a bit crazy with this one. But, you know, we've got new paints, so that means...
Shake the paint!
Exactly. So we're going to just grab some of these paints. I decided to work from blue first, so we'll grab some blue. And honestly, I'm just going to slop it on. And I'm not going to wait for it to dry before I switch to another colour. And what I'm going to do here is just trying to create sort of like a rainbow. Contrast paint's really good for that because it is wet. It's meant to be mixed, and it's really good for that. So while it's still wet, you can see this is the same shot. I've waited like 10 seconds. We'll grab some green and we'll whap it on the other side. So we've got a blue on one side and a green on the other side. And you can just feather the colours together a little bit, and they'll start to mix. So you'll get blue on one side, green on the other side, and a bluey green where you've decided to join them together. We'll grab some yellow, not too much, and we'll do the same thing but with the left-hand side of the tail here. And again, you can see that I've picked up some colour with my brush because it's not dried yet. So when that keeps going, it mixes with it really nice and you get another tone. You can do this with like any colours, obviously. Contrast paint, I think it works really well because of the way that it mixes with each other. I don't think you'd get the same effect if you used just like regular acrylics. So let's go bright and bold with this paint. It's Doomfire Magenta, one of my favourite paints. And do this on the face. And again, we're just merging into the other colour sections. It gets you a nice little transition and honestly makes the thing just look wild. Which I really liked that. A little bit on the tail too. There we go. So we've got some interesting colours all on there. I decided to do the same for another model and just do that, the blue and the green, with again a little bit of the merging between them. And I thought I could do something really interesting with this one, with this orange, which I really like. So what you'll need for this is your paint, a napkin or something to put it on, and a toothbrush. Yep, we're using a toothbrush. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pour the paint out onto the napkin and grab your toothbrush, just dab it in. And then we're going to get most of the excess off. I switched to having gloves on now because I realized how ridiculous this was going to be on my finger. I didn't want that. Put a glove on. Then what we can do is you can test it on something first to see how much is coming off. I seen that not much was coming off. When you pull back the bristles and let them flick, it flicks some of the paint, and it's really interesting the way you can do that. So I'm getting little flecks of orange on my guy. I'm going to do that on both sides, so that's like the factor that joins the two sides together. And I think honestly this looks really good. You can flick more times or get some more on different bits that you want. Again, just check with the paint. I didn't thin mine down at all, but you could try thinning it down and seeing you'll get the effect you want. I decided to go heavy on the tail to get another like third colour point on there, quite strong on the orange on the tail. And I think it looks pretty good. This step is my favourite way to paint Squigs. I get a dry brush sort of thing. This one's just an old brush. I wanted to show that you could do it with any old brush. And you can, but I honestly kind of regret that decision. I should have used a proper dry brush, even just the Citadel one, which is what I used before. It was a lot better. This step's not really dry brushing though, so you can just use anything. It's just getting a base coat, a sloppy base coat over the whole model. I used a burgundy colour here, and that's what I recommend. The red burgundy is really good if you're going for red, or if you're going for blue, you can do that as well, which I'll show you later. I've got these three reds here. Basically, you're just wanting 3 steps of red from darkest to lightest. And all you're going to do is you're going to get your red, you're going to make sure there's not too much on the brush. Again, this isn't full on dry brushing yet at this stage. We're getting most of the paint off. Not so much that it's like not coming off at all, but it's not much coming off because we're going to do, again, I think this is basically an overbrush because we still want to hit most of the model with this red. This is so fast and sloppy, and it gets like the results look really good considering how little time you spend on this. Then we're going to switch to, again, a lighter red, a more vibrant color, and you're going to, again, get more off your brush this time, and this is moving into more dry brush territory. So you want to wipe off as much of your paint as possible so that you're only leaving bits on the highest of the model and taking that from the top, because you don't want those bits to be lower down on the model. This is the light hitting the model. It's really good, really quick, really easy, and I love this setup. And again, because you've got that first base coat of burgundy in there, all the shadows are that colour, so as long as you're dry brushing or over brushing, whatever, you're going to get your shadows to be that burgundy. And burgundy going up to the bright red I really enjoy. And then we're going to move on to our last one, and this is the one where you're going for a proper dry brush. Not like the other ones that have been a bit more of an overbrush, I guess. This one's proper. You're trying to get everything off, so basically nothing's coming off on your paper towel. You've got most of it off, and you're just going to get focusing on the face and then the highest parts of the model, and you'll get such a nice transition from that burgundy right the way up to that brightest red. And again, like I said, you can do this with blue as well. Starting from that same burgundy base coat, you're going to follow the same steps, the same exact steps. Get your darkest blue, rub most of it off, but not too much, and you're just going to slop this on everywhere. Do the same steps up to a lighter blue, and then up to your very lightest blue for just the highest bits. And honestly, I think I might prefer the blue with the burgundy. The 3 steps on the blue just look really good, and again, you can see in those shadows, they're nice and dark, and you'll reinforce them as well with like shades or washes or that, and it just ends up looking really nice. Now, this is the model we're going to be doing the rest of the steps on, and you might ask, Gary, why does that goblin skin look so amazing? First of all, calm down, we've just met. Second of all, I will show you in another video, but the rest of the steps need more paint, and more paint means... Cool. So we're going to use an orange here and go over some of the little details. He's got some little spots on him. So I'm just mixing up a squig orange and some of our red from earlier and doing these little dots as little warts on him. I actually do a step after this that covers this up completely, so I do have to go back and do it. This is that step. This is our shade that I was talking about earlier. My favourite is this Caribou Crimson. I really like that paint for this. And honestly, you can just do it all over. It settles in the recesses and it does bring out a nice vibrant colour in that. And then you can go back in afterwards and top up your highlights and any colours that aren't quite popping like you want them to. So this is after the wash, and I use a paint from Army Painter called Glistening Blood. And I hated it. It was not working with what I wanted. It looked terrible. I love that paint, but not for blood. For flesh, it looks amazing, so I thought it would work here. It doesn't. I just went with pink from Citadel. And that works. That's just for the lips there. And again, just our first step. To be honest, if I'd thought about this, I probably would have done this before the Caribou Crimson shade. But I do rectify that by then going back in once it's dry. Yeah, there we go. And put that Caribou Crimson in those luscious lips. Then my way to do teeth. It's half what I learned on a Citadel box at some point, but you start with Xandri dust and just get all those teeth base coated as much as you want, the front and the back. That's a great first step. And while we're waiting for that to dry, we'll get his claws. I use this nice, deep, dark blue colour here. I think it's better than just like a black. It gives you a nice... And again, if you want to shade these, you absolutely can. But these are just my little rank and file guys, so I'm not so fussed. I start dark and do a little highlight, and that's about me. But his claws, if they've got any like spikes or spines poking out of them, you can do that too, or you can do them in the bone colour, the teeth colour, which is great. So just chuck a little highlight back on. I did speak about the wash, obviously dulling it back down. When that's all dried, you can go back to like your highest highlight color of whatever color you're doing, obviously the red in this one, and just pick out those highest bits. And this will be a bit of back and forth. You want to thin it down so it's not too much. And that's a great first step for your highlights there. Again, just getting any of the raised bits. I like looking at it from above so that you can see where, if you're doing a regular like top-down light, like most people will do, then looking at it top-down and seeing where the light's going to hit most, that's your best bet. And you've got your shadows to follow as well for areas you don't want to have a highlight. So we'll finish up these highlights, and you've already got like a great point here where he's got lots of details and lots of highlights, and I think he looks pretty great. Right, the highlight on the claws, this is just a quick one and done. Just the very top lines of all the claws. Again, with horns or that, you do the same thing. That's it. But let's get back to those teeth. This is a whole wash of Nuln Oil, a black wash there, and that just darkens the gaps underneath at the bottom of the teeth where they connect to the mouth, and it just makes them look more stuck in there. They look like teeth. This is a great step, and it dulls them down and allows you to move to the next step of a highlight much easier with the same color. Now we're just going to do little dots for his eyes, and I always find eyes are really difficult, but there's a really easy way to do these. And just a little dot of yellow, and if you mess up like I do here and make him a little goofy looking, you can just come back in and sort that out with the original base color there and chuck it back until it's not quite a giant bulbous eye like it was there. Hey look, we're doing those spots again that I covered up earlier. It's just the same orange squig paint and getting those little details done, and then just got some on the other side as well that we're gonna get the orange onto there. Right, so back to these teeth. We're gonna go back in with Xandri dust, and basically from like a third of the way from the base of the tooth to the tip, I'm gonna start doing a highlight, dragging it towards the tip of the tooth. This will go from light at the tip of the tooth all the way down to dark at the base. And then we're going to go one step further, just right on the end third, with a nice bone colour here. And that'll get us that nice little highlight on the tips of the teeth, the tongue and the lips, sorry. And that'll give you those nice, sharp-looking teeth that are great. Right, we'll go in with another highlight here, and what we're doing is we're just getting that brightness back up on the highest points, and trying to use this opportunity to also maybe to introduce some texture, and just doing highlights, scratchier ones where you think that they'd be good. And we sort of start tinting the color here more towards orange by mixing a little bit yellow in, and that kind of makes the highlights pop and look a bit more real. You don't want to go too much on this because it will then start to just read as orange. We're still wanting them to be red, but the highest points should be a bit more yellow in them. I don't like using just an orange paint. I think it looks a bit much, but I think that's really good. So with the eyes here, we're going to use this contrast paint, a yellow contrast paint, and just dump it on it. And what it does is it leaves the highest point of the eye bright, and then the lowest point gets that wash on it. It fills it out and makes it look more eye-like, which is good. You can just dab any extra away with your finger if you do that. Nice and easy. That's him basically done. You can do a few more extra steps if you want. If you want to push it a bit further, you can. I'm not gonna for this one because I've got 10 of these guys to do, and I've already done many. So we're just gonna move right onto the basin, and I like mud. No, not that mud. This mud. It's honestly my favorite thing. I use it on these bases. I do actually cover them up with grass, but having that mud underneath the grass just makes it look a whole lot better. I think it looks really nice. The mud's really good, the Vallejo one. So we're going to use that, and then I'm going to use some simple PVA glue and some grass that I've got from, I don't remember where this one's from. I think I got this second hand from someone. But any sort of like army painters, I think it's like static grass will just do you. Basically, wait until your mud's dry, grab some PVA glue with a brush that you don't like, and slop that all over the base. Once that's all over the base, you're going to just grab some of that grass and sprinkle it on there, and it'll stick into your PVA'd bits, and it's probably also some bits you don't want it to stick on, but that's okay. You can get rid of that with your finger or with a wet brush or something. Try and just move the grass out of the bits that it's stuck to where you don't want it to stick, and it's about it. I do this over a tub as well so that I can collect all the extra bits and put them back into my other tub, my grass tub, and that stops me from wasting all the grass. So here he is in all his glory. Last thing we need to do is put some paint on that base. I use paint that I probably shouldn't. You should probably just use like the cheapest black paint you can find. I use Abaddon black. I ended up having like 3 or 4 pots of this, and I don't paint as much as I used to. I'll probably change that now that I'm painting more. But that's it. Let's show you what we've got. And here they are. Here come the Squig boys. Yeah, these are all the Squigs that we've painted. You were painting at the same time, right? You followed all the steps. Nah, I'm just kidding. These are the Squigs. I've done all, like I said, all the same steps on these guys basically as I did on that one I showed you. And I think they've turned out great. There's loads of them. They're all so different. and it's really fun. I've tried to just use this as a chance to go a bit mental and try things I wouldn't normally try, and I think that's half the fun of painting. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot if you could like and subscribe. That really helps out, especially when we're a new channel, just starting out, and I've got more videos on the way and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much. I've been Gary for the Goblin Guard, and we'll see you next time.